Welcome to A Slob Comes Clean, the podcast. I'm Dana K. White. I blog over at aslobcomesclean.com. That's where I share my personal deslobification process. As I figure out ways to keep my own home under control, I share the truth about cleaning and organizing strategies that actually work in real life for real people. People who don't love cleaning and organizing. Thanks for joining me today. This is podcast number 297. I think I'm going to call it Finding Focus. Y'all, I feel like I have turbo T-pad lately. I mean, accelerated, intensified, blah, 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 T-pad. T-pad stands for Time Passage Awareness Disorder. And that is made up by me, but it's a real thing. And I've actually had people say, oh, it's called this in such and such scientific way. Anyway, I call it T-pad. It is just my reality. Like, I have a hard time knowing how long it's been since I did something. And so a lot of the things that I set up are either to let me know how long it's been since I cleaned the toilet or mopped or whatever. Those routines, my things that I talk about in How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind, one of my books. I set those things up to fight my own T-pad. I also eliminate decisions from the process because, meaning things like daily routines, I call them pre-made decisions. These are the things that I have to do. I have to do the dishes every single day. I don't get to reason if it needs to be done or not. Like, because my T-pad will flare and I'll be like, oh, I just did the dishes. And yet it's actually been 2 or 3 days but whatever, like I just go, nope, dishes have to be done. And so all these things that I have set up, so many of them are specifically to just combat the reality of the fact that I suffer from time passage awareness disorder. But we're talking about time passage awareness disorder turbo right now. I mean, y'all, 2020 has done, and I know it's 2021 now. I don't know that I knew that when I first said the word 2020 2 seconds ago, but anyway, has done a number on my T-pad. I mean, it has accelerated it. It has turbofied it. I am having such a hard time having any awareness of time. Like, even though my kids have been back in school, even though, things are happening, like end of the year things, blah, blah, blah. And yet I just have this weird feeling of I have no idea what month it is. So here's a little example. So there's a podcast I have been listening to for about a year that I really enjoy. It's called That Sounds Fun with Annie F. Downs, and I recommend it. Anyway, she's just a very fun person. But she does this thing. I guess I've listened to it for over a year now because she does this thing in February where she interviews couples all month long. So her interviews for that month are all pairs of people, not necessarily romantic couples, but, just pairs of people. And that's her thing. And she's been doing it for a while. So I guess I had listened to it back in 2020, at least. And then when it was February this year, evidently, I didn't realize that, she started doing couples month again. And I was like, why is she doing couples month now? This is weird. She usually does this in February, because I had zero understanding that it was February, even though I have the dates show up on my phone every single day. I mean, y'all, I don't know what it was so bizarre to me. And then it took me way too long, as in probably several episodes. I mean, and she does 2 a week. I mean, like, it took me way too long to go, wait, it is February. And yet it still didn't feel real for it to be February. I mean, even with the normal triggers, y'all. Okay, so I'm just going to be, I hope I don't get emotional. Anyway, blah. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. Maybe. I may have Rachel cut this out. We'll see. I am having such a hard time right now. Ugh. Okay, this is not going to be this kind of a podcast, I promise. Just let me get through this. I'm having, because this is an example of like how even though there's things that should very much make me know what time of year it is, it's not working. I am having such a hard time. Like, I am experiencing all this, all this grief. Sorry. As things happen with seniors. like, it's senior time and I'm so thankful that 2021 seniors are getting to do things because I know they have lived all year holding their breath. And I know that some of you guys have 2021 seniors right now who are not getting to do anything. And I'm so sorry. But anyway, ours are getting to do things. They got to have prom. They got to, not that my kid would have cared about prom, but still, you know what I mean? But they're having their senior parties. They're, had their last day of school and knew that it was the last day of school and all this. Anyway, so I'm like experiencing all this grief over, goodness gracious, y'all. I don't blame you if you quit listening. Anyway, but I'm experiencing all this grief over just everything that comes up. I'm like, oh yeah, we didn't get to do that with my kid last year. Okay, fine. He's fine. It's the mama-ness of me. I guess it's all the stuff that last year I would have been experiencing. And yet instead I was just holding my breath the whole time, not knowing what was coming and blah, blah, blah. My point for y'all is just that I think there's going to be times, things that are going to happen that are going to, y'all, I'm seriously hoping BetterHelp is a sponsor of this particular episode because that will be perfect. Anyway, no, I think we all need to acknowledge that there's going to be things that are going to happen that we're not even going to be expecting to have an emotional reaction to. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Oh my goodness. I'm done. Okay. I'm done with that. Anyway, my point is that things are happening that very much make me aware of what time it is, what season it is, what year it is. And yet I'm still struggling to even have any concept of that. My point of that, oh, I don't know. Y'all can tell me I shouldn't have left that in, but I know there's some of y'all who like to know that I'm a real person. And there you go. Anyway, it has accelerated focus issues. I am struggling with my focus issues more than I normally do. So I'm going to talk about this because I know this is a common factor for a lot of us, not all of us, but for a lot of us. I think I have attracted this group of people who also struggle with focus because the strategies I've had to come up with are generally meant to combat my issues with focus. So what are some of the things that I do to battle these struggles with focus? And I hope that my emotional outburst and all of my continued struggles help you know that this is one of those things in life that you battle. You don't fix. And while for so much of my life, I thought, oh, if I could hear the perfect sentence, if I could read the perfect paragraph that would explain this, I would never struggle with it again. And part of growing up for me has been realizing this is a lifelong struggle. It is better for me to accept that and say, these are the things I do to battle this struggle, as opposed to just being mad that this is harder for me than it seems to be for some people. Although I think there are more of us than you think. Anyway, okay, good. I'm not emotional anymore. Woo! I'm glad that's over. I'm sure I'll be fine now. Okay. So what are some things that I do? Focus on the absolute basicest routines that there are. I'm not going to spend a long time on this because this is what I talk about all the time, but I do want to say that knowing what the routines are, number one, do your dishes every single day. Number two, do a 5-minute pickup. Yes, there are 2 other habits that are in my 4 habits that I talk you through in 28 Days to Hope for Your Home, which is included in How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind, my book. But those 2, daily dishes and do a 5-minute pickup, if you can't do anything else, try to do those. And if you can't do both of them, do the dishes. I mean, like, those are the things. And when I have these focus issues, when life just seems to be going and I'm like, wait, what just happened? Then knowing which things to focus on when I have a moment of I need to focus is extremely helpful. It also, the more I keep those things done, the more margin I have, an ability I have to deal with problems that happen, because focus issues causes forgetfulness, which causes problems, and I have to deal with those problems. And it's easier to deal with those problems in a house where I've been doing the dishes and doing 5-minute pickups. So here's an example. Actually went out in my newsletter today as I'm recording this. If you're not on my newsletter, go to aslobcomesclean.com/newsletter and sign up for that. But I sent out a post where I'm basically talking about this. Like, it helps me to have these routines happening so that when bad things happen. So it was like, I think I was talking about how I had found our movie theater cups that had grown moldy because, a sugary drink had been in the cup. And then we hadn't immediately gotten it out of the car or gotten it into, anyway, blah, 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 whatever. I was having to stick them in a bleach bath. And I was like, I have the capability to put some bleach in my kitchen sink and fill my kitchen sink up and put these things in there to soak, because I didn't first have to make up for not having done the dishes for days because my kitchen sink was empty. My sink is not shiny, y'all. Don't ever get that impression. But empty is my goal, okay? So if I was keeping dishes done, even if there are 2 or 3 things in there, I can move those 2 or 3 things and do the thing that I need to do to deal with this emergency that happens. So it's just an example of how keeping the daily stuff done helps me in these times where I tend to be forgetful and tend to make mistakes and then have to make up for or fix these mistakes. It's easier to do that in a home where I've been keeping up with the absolute most basic of basic routines. Okay. All right. Moving on from routines, because we're not talking about that as our main thing today. When I feel overwhelmed, which is how I feel in these moments where my focus is scattered, I ask myself, what can I do right now completely? Okay, now before I do that, before we get into this, let me just tell you that in order to ask myself this question in a way where I can actually help myself and be successful, I have to throw the idea of finishing out the window. Okay, so give up on this idea of finishing. Not that I'm saying that you're never going to finish. Not that I'm saying finishing is a bad thing, blah, blah, blah. I'm saying the idea of I have to finish the whole everything increases my feeling of being overwhelmed, or is the cause of feeling of overwhelmed. And so telling myself, okay, without finishing being on the table, what can I do right now completely? What part of this overwhelming thing to me can I do and do it completely? Okay, right now, like in this moment before I have to move on to something else. Like let's say I'm looking around my house going, oh my goodness, I've got an hour. Okay, what can I do in this hour or even in the next 5 minutes? What part of it can I do on its own? If it's an overwhelming mess, what can I do on its own? I'll tell you, you can throw away trash. Okay, that's step 1 of the decluttering process. And the whole point of my decluttering process being a 5-step process is that each step completely accomplishes something. Even though you're not finished, you are making real, actual progress that can't just unravel and be undone because trash in the trash bag is gone. Okay. Maybe it's something, let's talk about it's your taxes. Okay. Which I know for most of us, that's over now, but it's something on my mind. What can I do right now in the midst of this overwhelming thing? If you just think about, taxes, let's, even if I'm not having finishing as the thing I can do right now, what can I do right now that I can do completely? Well, I can gather tax documents into a folder. Even if I don't get all of them in that folder, each one that is in the folder is completed. It's one less thing that's weighing on my mind as something that has to be done. See what I'm saying? Maybe I can gather information into a document or a spreadsheet. So there's this whole thing I've got to figure out. Maybe it's something even fun like planning a vacation. Y'all, I'm planning a vacation this summer. If any of y'all live around Portland, Maine, and have some fishing equipment that you would be willing for my sons and husband to borrow for a week, please send me an email at aslobcomesclean.com. aslobcomesclean@gmail.com. Anyway, but for real, like even that can feel like, oh, I'm having so much fun planning a vacation, but what can I do? How can I, do this thing I need to do? What can I do right now? I can gather information and put it in a document, not just think about, okay? Because the thinking about can often perpetuate that feeling of being overwhelmed and feel like, well, I just sort of concentrated on this for a minute and yet my focus takes me away. But if I'm gathering information and putting that information into a document or a spreadsheet, or, I am taking a screenshot of it and creating a folder in my photos of, ideas for Portland, Maine, or whatever. Okay. So that right there is something I can do. It's not finished, but it is every little small thing is a very small completion, because there is so much value when focus is your struggle in being done with one step, or even being done with one part of a step. The whole doneness, don't underestimate what that can do for you. Like, seriously, don't underestimate that. Okay. Other things, what can I do right now in this moment where I'm feeling very unfocused? What can I do without actually having to make any decisions that will make decisions later easier? Gathering tax documents into a folder is a great example of this. Okay. This is something I can do that I don't actually have to make a decision, because the great thing about tax documents is they say on them for taxes, or, they say something on them usually. I'm just gathering them. I'm not making decisions. I'm not evaluating whatever, because that evaluating is the stuff you want to put off, but I can still move toward the goal, the overall goal, by gathering things that I need for this, and making the things I'm gathering that deciding factors that I'm not going to have to actually make any decisions about this. Same thing if I'm dealing with a decluttering project. Okay. Those first 3 steps of my decluttering process are trash, easy stuff, meaning it has an established home. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to make any decisions. And declutter, meaning like, well, it just obviously needs to go. I don't have to think about it. All 3 of those things, the first 3 steps, the 3 steps that will make this space better and less overwhelming, are all decision free. Okay. So whatever project that you're looking at, let's say you have to write a research paper. Okay. And you're gathering information for that. What can I go ahead and do before I get to the decision phase of things? Let's say it is, I need to plan my kids' graduation party. Well, what are some of the things? Did I seriously have to bring that up? Because I didn't get to have a graduation party. I said that without crying. Are you proud of me? Oh, I've already made progress. Thank y'all for being my therapists. I'm not a real therapist, and the vast majority of y'all probably aren't either. But anyway, but yeah, like what can I go ahead and do? Even though this overwhelming idea, I can go ahead and do my dishes. Like, there's no decision to be made. If I have this end goal of opening my home for a graduation party, then I'm going to have my dishes done, right? So I might as well go ahead and do those. That's something, it gets me moving and it makes progress toward the goal without having had to make any decisions. I've made that decision for you. What do you need to start with? You need to start with the dishes. Here's another thing. And I'm trying to apply this to just general stuff that has to do with focus, but adjust my environment. Slob vision is real, you guys. And, I talk all the time about how I don't notice incremental mess. I notice perfectly clean and I notice overwhelmingly messy. And the in between is what I don't see happening. So sometimes when I'm feeling very overwhelmed, I may not identify that what is overwhelming me is the state of my home. Okay. I may feel like it's just a general feeling of lack of focus, or I can't get started on this thing that I want to get started on. And instead, part of that, either it's the whole problem or it's just contributing to the problem without me realizing it, is that I'm experiencing slob vision and not seeing the problem in the space that I have. Okay. I'm not seeing the huge problems. So what's something I can do to adjust my environment when I just overall, instead of saying, okay, open your eyes, Dana, look and see what you're not seeing. Instead, sometimes it just helps me to adjust my environment. So one example, as far as focus goes, and I know I've mentioned this before, but I spend a lot of time working outside because it changes my environment. I move to another place in the house. I'm talking about when I'm working on the computer and I'm working on a project. But even if it's the overall, we're talking about our home, sometimes it's let me move something. Okay. Like I just got a new couch, you guys. I'm so excited. And it got delivered and I had to move the old couch out of the way, and hopefully someone will take it from me, or otherwise we'll take it to the dump. It's kind of broken. Like the reclining part of it is broken. And like we tried to push it down, but then when you push it down, then it makes the back go back. Anyway, it's very annoying, but I'm hoping someone will take it for free. But I had to move it. Okay. I had to move it out of the way to make room for the new one that was getting delivered. And as I did that, I switched out to little coffee table things. Well, just doing that made me go, oh, and it opened my eyes to so many other little things that had just completely escaped my slob vision. Okay. So what can you do to adjust your environment? Obviously, it'd be great to start in the most visible space and start decluttering, but what if that's not even something that you're capable of doing right now? Well, don't take on some big project. Don't redecorate the house. Don't rearrange the living room completely. But can you switch to end tables? Maybe they're not the same ones and you switch them to the other sides. Guys, little things like that will help to clear this overall whatever. I know I'm talking good today, y'all. But do like what 2 chairs, if you have 2 recliners, switch them, just move them to each other's spot. You're probably going to reveal some stuff under the recliner anyway. That's what happens in our house. You then may realize, oh, the rug is crooked, the blah, blah, it will just clear up some of that issue, like change the environment, switch something in the environment, flip 2 things. But yeah, do not pull everything out of a space. Don't do that. Other things when I start to feel overwhelmed, is go, okay, what kind of an automated system can I set up here? I'm having trouble with focus. I'm forgetting things. What of this can I automate? It might be subscribe and save. It is, oh my goodness. Once again, I am out of dish soap, well, put it on subscribe and save. Say, okay, I'm still going to have to go get some now, but this is going to allow me to not have to think about this in the future, and just eliminating that from being something that is going to happen again. Does that make sense? Like if you're always running out of dish soap, yes, you're going to have to go get dish soap now, but by putting it on subscribe and save, this is an Amazon feature if you guys don't use it. It's also available with lots of different, places where you buy household stuff. But by putting it on subscribe and save, even though, yes, I still have to go get some right now, or I still have to order it for right now, putting it on subscribe and save takes a huge future focus stealer stress off my mind. Okay. Because I can know now this is going to show up at my house every 2 months or whatever it is. And you can always adjust that if you've never used it before. Setting up recurring reminders on your phone for, I have, when my Bible study that I go to on Wednesdays, was completely online this year. And for the first several times, I just completely missed it. Like I would make one and I would be late, and then the next week anyway. So I just set up on my phone that every single Wednesday at 9:25, this alarm goes off. Well, I know it's going to go off tomorrow, and I could probably go in there now and fix it and change it because it's over for the year, but it'll go off again tomorrow. And then I will, change it and take that off until I forget one next year. Hopefully we'll be back in person. We'll see. Anyway, But the point is, set up those recurring reminders on your phone. If it's on your calendar feature on your phone, like, is it something, I have something for a couple of bills that my husband usually takes care of bills, but there are a few that are like for business in my name. And so I have those set up that, it reminds me. I usually set it for 2 different days in case I ignore the first one, and say, hey, check this bill, So setting up those recurring reminders is something I can do right now that is going to eliminate future stress. And there's a lot of value in helping my focus to know that I'm not going to have to stress about this in the future. Okay. Setting up a biweekly cleaner. I know y'all have always been nice, but on like Facebook, people are like, you have a cleaner? And I'm like, yeah, I do. But I've talked about it in lots of other podcasts. In case this is your first time, I talk about the realities of having someone clean and how I got to that point and blah, blah, blah. But that is a huge automated forced focus. I mean, like, I have no choice to do that. But you guys, to get my house completely picked up before she comes. But y'all, even still, just recently, we set up an alert on my calendar to remind me when she comes, because I cannot tell you how many times, this is with Jennifer, who sets up the Kindred Spirit calls that we play here on the podcast. How many times I'd be like, yeah, I can do some calls on Thursday. And it would be the day that she was going to be there. And then I'm like running all around my house trying to find a space where she's not vacuuming in the background or whatever so that I can do those calls. And so finally I was like, wait, why do we not just have that on the calendar? And so Jennifer set it up on my calendar for me. And so it's just a recurring thing. And now that has eliminated a lot of need for focus and a lot of future stress, because I'm like, oh no, now I know that it's on there, so that I know that when that comes up in the future, I am going to be able to look at it and, that's not going to happen anymore. Basically, is what I know. I know this is not going to happen to me again. I have taken care of this by setting something up, which literally it probably took her 2 minutes, and it took me 30 seconds to send her an email asking her to do that for me. I could have done it myself, I guess, but whatever. Anyway, autoresponders in your email. Like, if it is something, I know autoresponders are annoying, but y'all, if you email me after next week, you're going to get one. Because here's the thing. Yes, they're annoying, but they are so helpful, not only so that people know what's going on with me, but also so that I can take the pressure off of my brain to keep up with things. So mine for the summer, when I take off, says something along the lines of, this is what I'm doing. If you're emailing about this, so-and-so will get back to you. But if it's important, please feel free to email me again in August. So the reality is that my husband calls this, put the monkey on someone else's back. When I say stuff like that, sometimes I go, is that appropriate? Like, I think I've said this before on other things. I'm like, all these sayings that we've had in the past, I'm like, I hope this doesn't mean something but I don't think it does. Y'all can tell me if you know the origin of that phrase and if I shouldn't say it, but it's like, it's what can I do to give this to someone else, to do my part so that now responsibility falls on someone else. If it's really important to them, then they know to put a reminder in their phone to call me again in August. But they also don't have expectations that they're going to hear back from me immediately. They also don't have expectations that in August, I'm actually going to make it back through all of those emails that I missed and respond to them. Okay. So it's not just about letting people know. It's about meaning that I can rest easily and know this is not going to be something I have to have worrying me in the back of my mind. How am I ever going to catch up with that? And the last of all is here's what I'm going to say is let people know that you're struggling. Let people know in your life. Oh my goodness, I'm going to get emotional again. What is my problem today? I'm sorry, y'all. But let people know you're struggling. If you are really struggling with focus, you guys, it's common. We're all having issues, even if you don't realize it. You probably are over the course of the last year and a half. But let people know you're struggling. Even if they don't listen, you can know that you told them and then let yourself go of the stress of not meeting their expectations. Okay. And I know, I mean, sometimes I go, oh, I don't want to give people permission to do something that they shouldn't do, or, to not fulfill whatever. And that's not what I'm saying. Here's an example. Okay. So in my Kindred Spirits group, everybody's very, very kind, but every once in a while, somebody will report something because they're like, I don't know for sure, and I'm happy for people to do that because, we have major no bashing, all this kind of stuff, and sometimes people I don't think people realize sometimes. And like I said, this hardly ever happens, but I don't think sometimes people realize that what they just said actually could be really hurtful to somebody, so of course, I'm great with people reporting stuff, but I started having, sometimes people would send a message to my personal Facebook, which I don't do any work, okay, on my personal Facebook. Like and it's a boundary I have to set up for my own brain. Okay. Meaning if you're not a personal friend, I know how, like, Facebook will like flash up that you have a message request from somebody. And then it's hard to actually find that again if you don't look at it right away. But I'm like, no, I can't. I can't be responsible for that. So I was feeling bad. I was like, oh, sometimes people do this and then I don't look at them because it's a personal boundary. I cannot do that. And I have email, so if you send it to my email, then things are taken care of. There's also a way to report stuff, that I can check that, but I'm not going to check personal email. I just can't do it. And so I made an announcement in the group and I was like, hey, this is not about anybody in particular because, it does happen, not all the time, but regularly. I was like, I just need you guys to know I can't do this. This is why, because it has to be a boundary. I have to, I'm not going to on a Saturday night while I'm having dinner with my friends and my family, deal with a message that comes up from somebody I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, cause I don't always remember exactly who's in the group, blah, blah. I'm not going to do it. And I can't keep track of things in there, blah, blah, blah. So I just stated, I said, guys, this is my reality. I'm struggling. I need you guys to know this. There are probably going to be people who come into the group, didn't see that message, send me something with great intentions, and I'm not going to answer it. But I don't feel bad now. Like, I don't also have that added feeling of feeling bad because I have made the statement. Okay. And somebody can go and look around and try to find things written by me to help figure out why is Dana not answering my message or whatever. It's there. It's like I've done my part. And that goes back to what we're talking about at the beginning. What can you do that completes a circle? Maybe it doesn't complete the whole project. Okay. We're not worried about that. Because if we worry about that, we'll never start. But what can I do that completes a circle so that then I can go, oh, I don't have to think about that now. Okay. That's the goal is, like I said, focus is an issue. And welcome to my podcast. If this is your first time, I'm surprised that you're still here with us. Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And I think that's it for today. Just wanted to remind you that you should go back and listen to my, special bonus podcast episode that I did with Dave and Gomal. And we talked about reading the labels on your cleaning products and how important that is. Anyway, that's with goodchemistryliveshere.com. They sponsored that series. And that was the last one in that. So make sure you go back and listen to that. Okay. I will talk to you guys next week. Oh, I do want to remind you though, make sure you subscribe to the podcast or get the newsletter or whatever, because I do take summer off. I will still be on YouTube, but I will not be doing podcasts for the summer. I'm on YouTube because my kid needs a job and he's my editor. So anyway, all right. I will talk to you guys next week. All right. Bye.